friends, welcome back. If you're new here, hello, welcome. My name is Kate. Here on this channel we do all sorts of motherhood content. We talk a lot about home, family, faith, a lot about foster care and adoption. And I apologize if you've been waiting for some videos. I do really want to equip and inspire and encourage foster parents, adoptive parents. That's a big part of my channel here. But as you know, if you watch regularly, we've been going through something a little bit tough. If you want to get caught up, check my last few lives. But I do try to put out 3 videos a week, and this whole month has been kind of just crazy for me. Anyways, I'm wanting to film this one for a while. I got a bunch of books in the mail. Some I've had for a while and some I got more recently. I wanted to talk to you guys about some great books for foster care and adoption, some great children's books. So the first, if you don't know, I wrote my own book. It's called Fitzy Needs a Family, and it's all about explaining foster care to children in a relatable way. It's just kind of very simple drawings. It is a lot of text, but I find it's hard. There's a lot of questions that your kids have. So I specifically designed this for families that have bio children that are kind of starting the foster care journey or in the foster care journey. And you get a lot of questions from them. What is it? Why are they here? How long are they staying? This book just answers all of that. And I saw a need for it. It wasn't really anything like it. So again, it's called Fitzy Needs a Family. You can get it off Amazon. I will leave all the links for all these books down below. But I wanted to start with mine. I know I'm a little bit biased, but again, there was just nothing out there like this to explain it to my biological children. So I decided to write one. So that is the first one. I'm going to talk about kind of foster care ones first and then adoption ones. So this one is a popular foster care book. It's called Maybe Days, and it's a book for children in foster care. This is explaining kind of to foster children why they're in foster care. So for example, I'm just going to read a couple of pages, obviously for copyright reasons. I can't read the whole thing to you, but all kids need a grown-up to take care of them. But sometimes for different reasons, kids can't live with their mom or dad, or just with their mom or just with their dad. So sometimes kids need to live somewhere else. That's what this book is about. Some kids live in a foster home where grown-ups called foster parents take care of them. So this is a really good book to explain to a foster child. I would say, you know, as soon as they can understand words, 2, 3 and up, that this is a great book for them. It talks about it's not the kid's idea, it's not the kid's fault, it's not because the kid was bad or silly or anything like that. And then it talks a lot about the waiting, because as we know as foster parents, there's a lot of waiting. Can you only imagine how those feelings are amplified for kids? So, you know, near the end of the book, it's talking about waiting can be hard. When kids ask questions, the grown-ups often say maybe. Will I go back to my parents? Maybe. Will I stay with my foster parents? Maybe. Will I live with my brothers and sisters? Maybe. Will I have more visits with my parents? So this is a really great book. If you are going to be bringing foster children into your home, they have no idea what's going on. Everything is scary, confusing, shocking to them. This is a really, really great book to have. The next one I wanted to talk about was Kids Need to Be Safe. And this one is by Julie Nelson. 2 here from Julie Nelson. So the first one, Kids Need to Be Safe, a book for children in foster care. Again, this is really beautiful imagery in this one. It's kind of like soft and just more calming. But it talks about how foster parents take care of children. When kids stay in foster homes, they have many feelings. They might feel happy, sad, scared, mad, lonely. So this talks a lot about how they're kind of processing things. I love this about Julie's book. In the back, she has these little messages to caregivers, foster parents, social workers, and it just kind of goes through some words, some things you can talk about, some ways that you can kind of help understand what they're going through. So it talks about safety, acceptance, relaxation, confusion, commitment, hope, and she also has some resources in the back here for foster parents that you can look into as well. So the first one is Kids Need to Be Safe. And the second one is Families Change. So this one is really talking more about termination of parental rights. So it's talking about why their rights might be terminated. Again, really beautiful imagery in this one. Kids can have different kinds of families. They might live with their birth parents, grandparents, or aunts and uncles. They might have foster families or adopted families. All these families are real families. All these families are important families. Sometimes families have big problems to solve, and these big problems are never the kid's fault. And then it's talking about how kind of families might change through termination, but how no matter what, birth parents want their children to be happy. Birth parents want their children to have a safe home. So this is a really good one if you are going through the foster to adopt process, or you're adopting children that have already been through the foster care system and the rights are terminated. This is a really great tool to explain it to them. And again, in the back, it has talking about answering questions, managing stress, building a trusting relationship, more resources for you as the foster parent. So these ones I highly, highly recommend. I'm gonna of course throw mine in there as well if you have bio kids. You know, so these 4 I think are amazing kind of tools to explain how foster care works, how termination of parental rights work, how, you know, explaining it to bio children. So this one I really love. It's about a little bird named Choco. It's just super cute because he goes out kind of searching for his family and, you know, looking for somebody that looks like him. And it talks about no matter where Choco searched, he couldn't find a mother who looked just like him. So then he sees Mrs. Bear picking apples. He knew she couldn't be his mother. Mrs. Bear didn't look like him at all. But Choco was so sad, he started to cry, "Mommy, Mommy, I need a mommy." And the story goes on to how Mrs. Bear becomes Choco's mommy. It's a super cute book, and it's got really cute illustrations in it as well. In the end, Mrs. Bear says, "You know, maybe I could be your mother." And Choco says, "You? But you're not yellow. You don't have wings or big round feet." And she just laughs and says, "Oh, that would make me look funny." In the end, he takes her back to her home, and there's all different kinds of animals, and Choco feels accepted, and like Mrs. Bear can be his mother. So this is a really, really cute book. It's a very popular one. You may have already heard it or have it, but I love this one. And then this one is cute as well. It's called Zachary's New Home. This one's by Geraldine Blomquist. And this one, I don't love the images as much in this one. I mean, they're beautiful, they're simple, but it's black and white. I think kids like color. But this one does a really good job of explaining how maybe when a foster or adopted child doesn't feel like they fit in and they have a lot of anger and a lot of behavior, and the parents are feeling like maybe he doesn't love us. And then it talks about, you know, he overhears the foster parents talking about how Zachary, the cat, is so difficult, and the dad is saying it must be very hard for Zachary to lose his mom and dad. It could be he is mad about losing them. So it kind of explains the feelings that a foster child or an adopted child might be feeling about leaving their birth parents or being removed from their birth parents. And then he runs away, and then he realizes that they do love him. The policemen bring him back. In the end, it talks about how Zachary, even through all those feelings and emotions, Zachary was happy to be back with his foster family or his adoptive family. Because he realizes how much they were worried about him and how much they loved him. This is a great book. It's called A Terrible Thing Happened, and it is by Margaret Holmes. And it's talking about kind of different feelings of anxiety that the little raccoon is feeling because of things that he saw, and he's trying to process all of that. So this is really good if you're, you know, have a child that has experienced domestic abuse, sexual abuse, that sort of thing. And he's talking about how he doesn't understand his feelings, he felt confused, and that they take him to a therapist. So it kind of walks the child through that type of scenario or that type of story, you know, through the eyes of an animal. So here in the therapy, it's talking about after that, Sherman drew lots of pictures of the pain in his stomach, pictures of the bad dreams he had, pictures of the fear that he felt, and at last, pictures of the terrible things that he saw. So he's talking about how he thinks it's his fault, and the therapist is talking about how it's not his fault, or the worker. In the end, it felt good for Sherman to let his feelings out, and how nothing can change what he saw, but now that he's kind of gotten it out in the open, it doesn't feel so mean. He's not so scared or worried. His stomach doesn't hurt as much, and the bad dreams hardly ever happen. At the end of the book, it says Sherman Smith is feeling much better now. He just thought you would want to know. This is a great book to have on hand to help these kids process the different emotions that they're feeling, things that they might have seen. Their brains are too young to kind of understand. They just know that it doesn't make them feel good. So this is a really great book to have on hand. So the next 2 books I'm going to talk about, I've talked about them before, but this was way back on my channel, and I know there's a lot of new foster parents, and not all of you have gone back and watched old videos, so I just wanted to give them a quick mention again. Todd Parr, I think, does an amazing job about explaining diversity in very different situations. So this one here, called The Family Book, it just talks about how all families are different. You know, all families like to hug each other. Some families live near, some families live far, some look like each other, some don't. So this isn't particularly about foster care and adoption, but just talking about how all families are different. So this is a really great one to add to your library. And then We Belong Together is really more based on adoption. It says in the front, this book is dedicated to all the children in the world that need a home and family. You can see this one's a little bit beat up. We read this a lot. We still do, but a lot early on with my kids in the foster care and adoption process. So it talks about we belong together because you needed a home and I had one to share. So Lilia actually reads this to Rosie now, and it's so sweet. This is the very first book I ever got about kind of foster care and adoption, explaining that to kids. and I think it's fabulous. But he has one called the Mommy Book and the Feelings Book. I think he's a great author to get as many books as his as you can, but these two in particular, the Family Book and We Belong Together. But he really explains diversity and feelings and emotions and differences very, very well. So the next one I wanted to talk about, it's called Discovering Me, a journey book about adoption. And this one talks a lot about forever family. So explaining kind of a forever family for children that may remember their first family or their biological family. So like, for example, I read a couple of the pages. When a forever family brings a child to stay with them, it's called an adoption. It is a very exciting time because it is the beginning of a new family. And I love on each page, it has these little footsteps so you can kind of express the journey. So it says, forever families come in all different shapes, sizes, and colors. Some forever families all look like each other. Other families look very different from one another. And to imagine who might grow up to be big and tall, or who has curly hair, or who has beautiful brown skin, or who has a freckled face. It would be such a boring world if we were all the same. Being curious about your birth family can make you feel many different emotions. You might feel happy, sad, angry, or confused when you think about your own story. So I really love this. It's got a lot of diversity in the pictures. This is great for international adoption as well. But I think this is a really beautiful book. It's by Betsy Traynor. So these ones are more, let me talk about this one quickly before I get into that. So this one is called Your Body Belongs to You. I got this for my biological children. Also for any children that may have been sexually abused, just talking about appropriate touching. I think this is a really great book to have in your library as well. Just talking about how your body belongs to you. No one's allowed to touch your parts. And if someone doesn't understand, you ask your mom or dad or another grown-up to help you say, not right now, please, your body belongs to you. Even with like forced hugs and things like that, kisses with, random people at church or neighbors. It's very important to me, especially for foster children, but for my own biological children as well, that they understand that their body is theirs and they do not have to engage in a hug with a random stranger. Think of Santa Claus. We force our kids to go sit on Santa's lap and they're all crying and we laugh at that, but like, it's a very traumatizing thing. These are strangers. We tell kids not to engage and interact with strangers in some way, but then we're like, oh no, it's okay. Go hug so-and-so and go hug so-and-so. So this is just a great book to have. It's not particularly about foster care or adoption, but I think it's great just to empower children to know that their body belongs to them and to help kind of guard against inappropriate touching. They're not always in your care. Even at school, we hear awful things happening all the time. So the more you can empower your children that their body belongs to them and nobody should be touching their private areas, the better it is. And, it's just a way of safeguarding. I think this is a really important book to have. So the next ones are more all about adoption, and I think they're all animal. Yeah, they're all animal based and they all have really beautiful illustrations. This one's called I've Loved You Since Forever, and this one's very, very simple. This book isn't particularly for foster care and adoption. It's really for welcoming any new child into your home, but it's just really, really beautiful. It's really simple and short. I've loved you since forever, before birds flew over rainbows. But look how pretty this book is. And monkeys swung on trees. There was you and there was me. Before the sun rose in the sky and honey came from bees. So again, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's beautiful. I love this. I love reading this to my bio kids, to all of our foster children, and just to let them know that you've loved them forever. A new relationship has formed between you and your foster child or your adopted child, but the love is always there, and these kids need to know that they're loved. So I think this is a really beautiful book to show that. The next one is called I Wished for You, an adoption story. I love this one. I think it's really beautiful. It's about Mama Bear and her little baby Barley. So it talks about, tell me again how I'm your wish come true. And she says, a long time ago, said Mama to Barley, a wish started growing in my heart. At first it was a quiet wish that nobody knew. Then it became an out loud wish that grew and grew and grew until one day my wish came true. And Barley's like, me, I was your wish come true. So I love this book. It is so beautiful just to show again how much your child is loved and that their wish come true and that that they were special to you and you thought about them before they were even with you. So this is a really, really pretty book as well. We've had this one for quite a while. So this one isn't particularly about foster care and adoption, but I think this is great. And it's talking about how after his mom had his little sisters that, and how she gave those kids lots of love and she didn't love him as much. And he was afraid. Talks about how his mommy was too tired to tell him a story. She didn't say, I love you, thought Elfie, and his eyes prickled with tears. She must have run out of love. Then he goes on to kind of the next day look for love, and then he gets really sad. So then he kind of talks to his mom. He tells him that she loves him, and he says, I thought you'd run out of love. And she said, oh, I will never run out of love, said his mother. Maybe your sisters have just kept me too busy to show it. And he starts keeping his sisters busy so that his mom can show his love to him. So I think it's a really beautiful story, just when you're blending a family in any sort of way, just to let kids know that just because new children are coming or going, or, you know, maybe an adopted child or even a biological child, that mothers have lots of love to go around. So I think this is a really beautiful story. This one is called God Found Us You, and again, it's about adoption. It's about this little fox, this little white fox and his mom, and he says, tell me again about the day I came home. So she tells him the story. So these are really good, this one and I Wished for You. These are both really good, like discovery stories of explaining an adoption to your adopted child. I think these are both really beautiful, done through animals. They're really engaging. But both of these are really great books. My absolute favorite book, and a subscriber, I can't remember who it was, actually recommended this one to me. And this is just an adorable book. I love this book so much. It's called Wild About You. It's by Judy Sierra, and it's got really cute pictures in it. Let me read a couple pages to you. Who's new at the zoo? Brand new babies, that's who. Some popped out from their mamas, some hatched out of eggs. Some walked right away on their long wobbly legs. Some babies are fluffy, some babies are hairless, some babies are shy. Oops, some are quite careless. They wander away and get lost in the zoo, and their mamas and papas can't find them, can you? My girls love to help find the animals on this page. Then it says, this just isn't fair, said the kangaroo. All my neighbors have babies, and I want one too. So do we, moan the pandas. We're black, white, and blue. So then it talks about how they're asking the other animals to take their babies, and crocodiles are saying, oh, the babies are awful, but we love them completely. And then the pandas are saying, oh, it's so hard to wait. And the pandas are kind of grumbling about how hard it is to wait. And then this little van comes, Endangered Species Rescue, and there's an egg, and they want to know who's going to adopt this egg and take care of it. They're all looking, and none of the birds want to take it, so the kangaroo actually decides to take it and says, I'll keep it warm in my pouch. And then at the end, it says, we've hatched out a penguin. Oh my word, I wasn't expecting this sort of a bird. And then they call, it doesn't matter, I love you completely. And though I may need some help because penguins eat fishes. So the puffins delivered fresh fish every day. The flamingos invited her over to play. And one happy day, she hopped her first hop, a super sensational kangaroo bop. So they call her a pangaroo to kind of, you know, pay respect to the fact that she's a penguin, but that she is raised by kangaroos. And then again, the pandas go on to have a similar story. And with the rhyming, the pictures, this is just a really, really beautiful book. It's fun. My kids love it. They grab this one off the shelf all of the time. So again, that's Wild About You. So I hope that was helpful if you are looking to grow your library for your foster children or adopted children. We read these. Even though my biological children obviously aren't adopted, we read this to them all the time. For us, we just want to normalize adoption in our family as much as possible. You know, it's going to be a part of our family one way or another. And, you know, we just want to teach our kids acceptance and that families come together differently. And all of these stories are just really beautiful books. Again, some are a little bit more helpful to foster children, explaining hard things, that sort of thing. But they're great to have if you are a foster family or a foster to adopt family, adoptive family. Go through them. I'm going to link a blog post down below with a little bit more detail if you want to know which ones are better for your specific situation. And also I'll link them all on Amazon down below so you can find them easily. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching and for being here for another video. I appreciate it so very much. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you like this video if you enjoyed these books. Share it if you have a friend that this might be a helpful resource for. And I will see you guys on the next one. Bye. I wish that I could say